Hello friends, today is Saturday. I am going to take a break from this neurotic election controversy to share my dreams. I haven't even looked at the news so as not to worry. If there is something urgent, I would upload another video. Opinion article. Back to nature. Exiles from the system in the mountain. Homesickness for the lost rural paradise. Mass exodus from the city to the countryside. There is teleworking to fill empty Spain. My house is where is wifi, they say. People go to the countryside from the confinement. Almost 9,000 Madrid residents have moved to the countryside. Simplify your life and everything will become less complicated. Say what you have to say, not what you should say. We find ourselves when we are lost. Let's start. This is my golden dream, and that of many sensible people. To return to a rural origin. Humanity has been living in small rural communities for millions of years, but the Industrial Revolution forced workers to migrate to large, monstrous and unbalanced cities with all kinds of vices and neuroses, because it's unnatural to live in masses of reinforced concrete. At the son of the poor Michael says, and they tell me that Miguelito among us is very strange. He says that he is happy in the mountains, that he is becoming an hermit. I don't know what's wrong with the poor Michael, who hasn't been out for a long time. It's typical Spanish song. The demand for accommodation in rural areas is a growing trend in Spain since the first measures leading to the confinement of the population were decreed on 14 March. The search for rural properties has increased by 46% since January, to the extent that applications have tripled. My house is where there is Wi-Fi, say the teleworkers. The exodus from the city to the countryside is now a fact, thanks to the introduction of teleworking. The lockdown caused by the back work was a catharsis for dozens of citizens who have decided to change their lives, or as a nightmare that many do not want to repeat, locked up in 50 square meters flats. Almost 9,000 Madrid residents have moved to the country. Advantages of change. Moving away from pollution, living stress and the exorbitant price of the rent were already compelling reasons for many to move to the countryside. For these reasons, we now add the fear of the alleged back teleworking, the uncertain economic situation and the imminent crisis. In other words, the health crisis has precipitated many people's decision to move to the countryside. For a good number of metropolitan inhabitants called urbanitas, the supposed health crisis has been a reason to flee from the asphalt. Many families have been forced to live in small flats, without a terrace to air out, without enough space to combine teleworking with school, and without a play area for children. Young people are precisely the demographic segment most interested in the revitalization of rural areas. More and more citizens between 25 and 40 years old are moving to the countryside, largely for economic reasons. The low wages of less experienced workers and the inability to develop a life plan with a minimum of economic relief justify this trend. More than 85% of Spaniards live in less than 20% of their wonderful territory, and the rural population has fallen by 10% since year 2000. according to statistics. This is due to the precariousness and lack of resources in rural areas. We now have the opportunity to fill the empty and abandoned Spain again. The good thing about returning to the countryside now is that it's not like it used to be in the days of the mule and the plug, because there is a lot of technology and communications to make life more comfortable, but there are still deficits in telecommunications, precariousness in education and health services, and lack of cultural and leisure attractions in certain areas. This is understandable in the case of young people who go in search of excitement and entertainment in the big city, but mature people only seek peace of mind. Nostalgia for the lost paradise. Wake up to the crowing of the rooster of the birds, rather than to the unpleasant beeping of an electronic alarm clock. Smelling the scent of fresh grass, stepping barefoot over beautiful meadows, drinking fresh mountain water without chlorine, breathing the health ozone-laden mountain air without a mask instead of the polluted city air. Just breathing the mountain air clears my mind and removes all my allergies without the need to take any drugs. I am not looking for big possessions, but breathing the pure mountain air where even harms are cured, and finding the truth of silence. Only the sound of silence can fill the soul and take away all the bad stuff from our head. But we must be careful not to take our nightmares into the countryside and connect with the harmony of nature environment, respecting it and loving it above all. We must love the Creator more than creation, but creation is impregnated with the music of the Creator's spheres. I get excited when I write this, but I can't help it. Patriarch Lot did not want his daughters to enter a city, so that they wouldn't be perverted, because he found his spirituality in the desert. All spiritual teachers and realized beings who have existed in the world have always sought their spirituality in contact with nature and in isolated places, because there is no other way to do it. I miss the mountains of the Himalayas, just as I miss the mountains of my closest Sierra Nevada. Every time I look at their beautiful mountain landscapes, my heart expands, and I almost feel like crying with happiness. That is where I feel the presence of God crying out. Saint John of the Cross, or San Juan de la Cruz. As Saint John of the Cross said, from the nature landscape, when he looked at them with only his figure, he left them dressed with his beauty. I dream of it every day. I cannot read Juan de la Cruz without being moved. This is an excerpt of his famous spiritual canticle. Looking for my loves, I will go through those mountains and banks. I'll not take the flowers, nor shall I fear the wild beasts, and I'll get past the forts and borders of forest and thickets planted by the land of the beloved, O meadow of vegetables, of enameled flowers. Tell us if it has happened to you. A thousand graces pouring out. Passed through these groves in a hurry, and looking at them with his holy figure, dress left them beautiful. My beloved, the mountains, the lowly, numerous valleys, the strange islands, the rivers of sound, the whistle of laugh airs, the quiet night, on a path with the rising of the sun, the quiet music, the lowlies of sound, the dinner that recreates all and falls in love. Life in the forest. I goes without saying that my naturalistic teachers are Horace, Fray Luis de Leon, and Henry Thoreau with Walden or Life in the Woods. Walden Life in the Woods is an essay published in 1854 by Henry David Thoreau and is one of the most famous non-fiction texts written by an American. In it, the author recounts the 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days he lived in a cabin he built near Lake Walden. Give me truth before love, money, and fame, said Henry David Thoreau, who decided to cut himself off from the world to return to his roots. For 2 years, he lived in the forest, and from his experience, he wrote his acclaimed book. Thoreau became independent from the world in order to find the meaning of his life, and boy, did he find it. Walden is now one of the classic and essential books you should read. Thoreau decided to go into the woods and to live in 1845. Curious was his situation with justice. He was imprisoned, and if it was only for one night, it was because his aunt paid the bail that was asked of him. Thoreau did not agree with the American policies of that time, at a time when slavery was a fact, and went to war with Mexico to conquer some of its lands, such as Texas, California, Utah, or Nevada. Thoreau would not try to live outside the world, but did so without the ties he found in it. He said that we lived too fast, and so he became a stoic hermit like me. Thoreau's teachings. I went to the woods because I wanted to live deliberately only to the essential facts of life, and to see if I could learn what life had to teach me, lest when I was about to die, I discover what I had not lived. When we work unhurriedly and sensibly, we perceive that only great and worthy things have a permanent and absolute existence, that small fears and despicable pleasures are but a shadow of reality. We do not need to meet ourselves until we are lost, or in other words, until we lose the world and can recognize where we are and what the infinite extent of our relationship is. The highest of my thoughts never ceases to resemble an eagle that suddenly enters the field of a vision, suggesting something immense and exciting of the beholder, but never really come close, flying in a cycle in the distance, eventually becoming its faintest figure, until it is finally lost behind a cliff or a cloud. Welcome to the human being, not his beast. Enter those who are masters of their hours and of the serene mind, and search seriously for the true path. We should look over the side of our ship more often, like curious passengers, and not to make the journey like stupid sailors in charge of making tow. Whoever advances confidently in the directions of his dreams, and take life as he has imagined, it will receive in return a reward that time will not grant him. The truth, only this one ages well. We assume a state of things and place ourselves in relation to it. Say what you have to say, not what you should say. Any truth is better than a deception. However mediocre your life may be, face it and live it. Don't dodge it and don't denigrate it. She is not as bad as you are. It is not, I mean. Love your life no matter how poor it is. Do not seek your development so eagerly, nor submit yourself to too many influences. You will only succeed in dissipating yourself. The life in us is like the water in a river. This year could be floods like the man has never known, and floods in the thirsty highlands. It could even be the memorable year when all our muskrats drown. The land we inhabit was not always dry. The light that blinds us is our darkness. Only the day dawns so that we are awake. The dawn is still going on. The sun is but a morning star. I am convinced, both by faith and by experience, that keeping ourselves on his earth is not a difficulty, but a hobby, provided one lives simply and wisely. As you simplify your life, the loss of the universe will seem less complicated, and loneliness will not longer be loneliness, not poverty, such poverty, nor weakness, such weakness. Time shapes everything in perfect work, but it's alien to perfect work. I am convinced that stopping eating animals is part of the destiny of the human race, and its progressive improvement, just as the wild tribes abandoned mutual anthropophagy when they came into contact with more civilized ones. Brother Fray Luis de León. Can anyone imagine more happiness than not hearing the infernal noise of the traffic, or the construction workers of our factories, or of the neighbors arguing in anger, not to mention the traffic discussions? From the lyrical and satirical poet Quintus Horatius Flaccus, the best way to be happy is golden medium, or golden medium, aurea mediocritas in Latin. He invites us to enjoy the present moment, since tomorrow is uncertain, carpe diem. This theme will have great fortune in universal literature. This is an extract from the Ode to the Retired Life by Fray Luis de León, inspired by the lyrical odes of Horace. What a restful life, that of the one who flees from the worldly noise, and follow the hidden path where they have gone. The few wise men in the world have been. That doesn't cloud your chest of the proud greats the state, nor of the golden ceiling, admired, manufactured, or the wise Moor is sustained jasper. It does not heal in the fame, sings her name in a voice, nor does it cure if it gleams, the flattering language which condemns the honest truth. O mount, O fountain, O river, O secret sure delightfully, broken almost the ship, to your soul rest. I flee from this stormy sea. Wake up the birds with its alert, tasty signing, not the serious care that is always followed, that which is left to the discretion of others. From the mountain to on the slope, by my planted hand I have an orchard, that with the spring of beautiful covered flower already shows, in hope, the certain fruit. I cannot avoid to be emotional when I read this. That's all for today, dear friends. Thank you.